What's your bias?
Well, my bias, like you said, I'm right wing. I'm conservative.
If you had to if you go, God damn it, maybe I went too far down this road. If I could just relax one aspect of my dialogue, what would it be? Me, it would be my pipe smoking.
Your pipe smoking? I probably wouldn't talk about the marijuana issue. I wouldn't care, because here's the thing: I don't care about it.
One way or the other.
But my issue with it is when, and we saw this in Montreal, I talked about it when people lie about it and they're dishonest with their voting constituency.
Like how so?
Well, saying, it's medicine for A, B, C, or D. It may be medicine for A, but not for B, C, or D.
Well, what are the B, C's, and D's?
Well,
what are the things that's not medicine
an example,
for?
Well, you're asking me what I wouldn't talk about, and now asking me to defend it. My point is, I don't really care about it.
But what are the B, C's, and D? Well, you said
it cures cancer.
Well, there has been shown
it helps with cancer about as much as turmeric and ginger. Those things help with cancer.
All those anti-inflammatory things.
Yeah, I know, but it's not a prescription.
But CBD has been shown to have tremendous benefits for cancer and non-psychoactive.
Yeah, and certainly with seizures. I have zero problem with CBD being legalized. But my issue is
cannabis.
I'll have to, I feel the need to call people out in bullshit when they say, well, the reason it's not is because of big pharmaceutical companies. I go, hold on a second. There's 7 patents on chemical compounds for marijuana right now.
Right.
The people who stand to make the most out of marijuana legalization are pharmaceutical companies. That's why they make.
That's not true.
Well, it is. If you look at the biggest supplement companies, it's owned by the same pharmaceutical companies.
But you can't patent
and the
one plant.
Yes, you can. They've patented seven at
you
least.
You can patent strains that are GMOs.
No. 7 active chemical compounds in pot that have been patented as drugs. They've gone through the process.
Yeah,
There's one that's really efficient.
To the point where you can't grow pot. How would you stop someone if pot's legal? If pot's legal, how would anyone? And if that's the truth, then that's a real problem.
If pot is recognized as a medicine, right? If pot is recognized, there is no one who would stand to gain more than pharmaceutical companies by providing it as medicine.
That's not necessarily true if people are allowed to grow it themselves.
Maybe it's not necessarily true. I'll give you that. But I also think it's not necessarily true that the reason people can't smoke up is because Big Pharma is sitting somewhere, Martin Shkreli going, oh, let's make pot illegal.
Well, not that
That's
guy.
my only point.
But there are absolutely people who have lobbied, as we talked about how the prison guard union has lobbied to keep marijuana illegal. There's absolutely pharmaceutical companies have done the same thing. It was revealed in the WikiLeaks memos.
See, this is where I was saying
don't interrupt me, you fuck. Where Hillary Clinton said that she's against marijuana in every sense of the word, right? You remember those WikiLeaks papers that came out?
Yeah.
Is he? He said he would leave it up to the states.
Yeah.
That's actually a constitutional approach.
But he wants to beef up the war on drugs.
You know why? I bet someone slipped him a pot cookie once and he looked at his hair in the mirror. And
no, he's a teetotaler. He doesn't even drink.
What the fuck?
Sold vodka, doesn't drink, Donald Trump. It's crazy.
Yeah. Ever?
No, he says he claims he's never had a drop.
Colorado topped $1 billion in legal marijuana sales in 2016.
Good.
Holla.
Yeah.
Holla at Colorado.
Yeah. But another thing that we just wrote about, and again, people get mad with the weed issue. Well, no. Traffic fatalities regarding marijuana have skyrocketed.
Google that, because that's nonsense.
No, we wrote about it
drunk driving arrests have dropped. What do you mean you've... First of all...
No, we wrote about what the sources are, the original studies.
Just because someone gets in an accident and they're high... hold on, stop.
No, hold on a second.
You interrupt way too much. You need to stop.
You talk in paragraphs.
Hold on a second. No. I don't talk in paragraphs. I make full points. If people are high a lot and the same amount of fatalities exist... But the people that get checked once they get into these accidents happen to be high, it does not necessarily mean that marijuana caused those fatalities. It could be that you have an increased incidence of people doing marijuana and altercations that could not have been avoided.
It could be.
It could be.
But the statistical change is measurable.
Well, what is it?
From pre and post.
You're talking about in Colorado.
In states where it's been decriminalized or legalized.
Let's go with Colorado. Pull it up, Jamie.
Hold on a second. You just said, let me make my point. Again, my point is I don't care about it.
Yeah, you do.
No, I really don't.
You don't care about people dying? You son of a bitch.
No, you get so touchy about it because someone says, you know what, if people want to smoke up, fine. I just don't really buy the arguments that everyone is in some big conspiracy to try and snuff it out.
No, there are some.
And the idea that the drug war will end and the idea that it cures cancer. I just don't buy that. And people get so upset.
Well, listen,
that's my only point. That's why I wouldn't talk about it.
Scientific studies have proven that it shrinks tumors, that it helps people with cancer. Much like turmeric, much like any things that reduce inflammation, including CBD
ginger,
oil.
Tart cherry.
Right, but it's not necessarily a magic. They're all legal, and there's no issue because they're not psychoactive.
Right.
But they are beneficial. So all these things are good. Marijuana is one of the things that are good. And don't shore, man. Just like you don't shore turmeric, you don't shore ginger, you don't shore a reduced sugar diet. All those things that reduce inflammation are good for you.
I don't buy that smoking marijuana would be as beneficial as a reduced sugar diet. And my point is that people get so offended by me saying that and saying, but if you want to smoke, go ahead.
You might be correct.
Shouldn't be offensive.
But it doesn't matter because it's not a fucking contest to see what's the most beneficial. The question is it beneficial and is it damaging?
It is. It does matter. The
What's
fact
damaging?
That you said, no, let me finish my point. It does matter. You said, what would you not talk about? I said, probably pot because I don't care. Well, what do you think about it?
I said, care. That's
this
why you're
is what I
arguing
think
with me about it.
And your eyes light up. And all of a sudden, where
cares?
ideology and worldviews
like
shouldn't be discussed.
No,
you're going to laser in like a tractor beam on the most important issue of the day that I said, I don't care.
You're the guy that thinks people should be able to do whatever. You're a free market guy,
that's
right?
What I just said.
So if you're a free market guy, why wouldn't you be in support of something, whether it's the most beneficial or equally beneficial? But you're not necessarily because you're denying.
But because right now of the chemical compounds.
Hold on, fuckface. You're denying.
Watch it. Come on. It's been a good conversation.
We're friends. I'm just joking. Since marijuana legalization, highway fatalities in Colorado are at near historic lows.
You haven't bringing up the source that you want to find.
Washington
Bring
Post.
up the study right there. Yeah, Washington Post. Bring up the study that we wrote. We wrote about it on our website.
Look, I don't care about your website, you fuck. Since marijuana legalization, highway fatalities in Colorado
Since you called me Since you called me a fucking puss, and you do this with the crazy lady at a comedy club,
buddy,
you think if you scream enough that it makes a point. My point is, I don't care about it.
I don't think that if we scream enough.
And you just said I was interrupting. You're interrupting now and screaming.
Because
I don't care about it
put
enough.
up a post, and you're not.
But I don't buy
ignoring
that it's as valuable as a low sugar diet. And the fact
doesn't have to be as valuable.
The fact that you can't have a conversation about this as civilly as you did every other issue tells me that there's a problem. This is a TNT powder keg.
I can.
The
problem is I get really defensive when people start talking over me, and you started it first. But the reality is that a low sugar diet is fine.
Sure,
it's good too. But why is there a competition between a low sugar diet and turmeric and marijuana and CBD oil? Why? Why does it even have to be discussed?
Because one is making the claim regarding legality that it cures cancer.
Because
my only point is I don't believe
legal.
No, my only point is
because the other ones are already legal. They don't have to fight for it.
Yeah, but no one's prescribing. No one's dishing out dispensaries for turmeric or ginger.
They certainly are. If you go to these local juice shops.
Anyway,
you go to these juice shops. People are promoting ginger like crazy, turmeric like crazy.
I
go online.
Couldn't care less people want to smoke joints.
You're an ideologue, buddy.
Really? That's an ideologue position by saying leave it to the states?
Yeah, you're locked in, man.
Really? And that's what a lot of people
proved you're full of shit about Colorado and traffic deaths. Should we go and fuck you up with this too?
Yeah. When you have your guy looking up sources.
You feel bad about the Colorado thing at all?
What? I never said Colorado. I said states that legalize marijuana.
What other ones are there?
Well, you didn't bring up the source that I wrote about.
I can.
But the fact that you're still hung up on it.
Hold please. What?
I got the article. I've been looking at it for like the last few minutes on your website.
Yeah.
There's a couple statements that are really bad just off the gate, like this right here. If you want to get high, you're a moron.
Well, getting high will make you more of a moron.
That's not a news article.
Right. Hold on, please.
That's commentary.
Hold on. But fine. After all, things like Coachella wouldn't exist. Is this your article?
Yeah.
I think it's an article on my site.
Oh, wait a minute. If you want to get high, you're a moron?
Yeah, I think Courtney believes that.
You think you're a moron?
I think Courtney believes that, yeah.
Who's Courtney?
She works probably one of the best writers I think I've ever encountered.
How dare you not read then?
But so then the article links to a couple, like this, for instance, is one that says it has deadliest year of traffic fatalities since 2008.
Yeah.
This article doesn't say anything about marijuana, not one thing. Doesn't mention weed at once. It does say that it could be attributed to lower gas prices, people driving more, more people in the state.
Sure.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Well,
but
more people in the
that's not the only thing. Hold on a second. No, this is
issue.
important. I'm going to defend myself here. Because you have someone here at the ready, and what you do is, instead of bringing up information, this is what happens with Christopher Titus, right? You don't have information that you bring up. You have another guy look up a source that you specifically want him to find.
I didn't ask him to bring that up.
Yes, you did. And he brought up Washington Post and goes, this is what's wrong with your article, taking a joke out of context. He had already been talking.
You didn't have a joke.
The joke in there about things like Coachella wouldn't exist if there weren't.
Okay,
that's clearly a joke.
In that article.
That's a joke,
right? But
to try and go, do you think people who smoke pot are morons? No, it's a joke.
Okay,
let's not do that.
Okay.
Let's not do that.
And no, pot's not comparable to alcohol. There are tests that determine how much alcohol content is in your bloodstream. We can't yet do that with weed, so it's impossible to handle these incidents in the same way.
That's pretty fair.
But there have been tests where they showed people.
But that would go back to what he said and what you said.
But there have been tests where they've shown people drunk versus on marijuana, and the people on marijuana drove far better.
Okay.
That's true.
So this is also anecdotal.
No,
but
these are tests.
It goes back to your point, right?
Let's
say someone has alcohol in their system.
Are these tests?
Well, I haven't read your test.
Okay, so why are you arguing against them?
No, I'm saying I agreed with your point earlier.
So why are you saying they're anecdotal?
Well, it is anecdotal if you're saying some people drive better on marijuana
No,
than
I'm
alcohol.
not saying that. I've said there have been tests where they've shown that people drive better on marijuana than alcohol. That's not anecdotal.
My point is, if you want to smoke weed, go ahead.
You're looking to be really good at this argument here.
No, I'm not.
You need to settle down.
You said you wouldn't pile on, and you got 2 people.
I'm not piling down. He's not talking.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
he's not talking. He brought something up.
When someone comes on the show, Jared cannot interject.
Congratulations, you're not on the show. And all he did was pull up some fucking information.
2 people bringing up information, me without a laptop.
No, he brought it up. I talked about it. He didn't even talk about it.
You said, what would be the one thing that you've changed your mind on that you would look back?
Is there a problem when 2 people are correct and you're incorrect? Does that bother you?
I don't agree that you're correct.
What are you talking about? You just pulled up some statistics that show that Colorado has less traffic fatalities.
No, I didn't.
Since
I didn't pull up any
2000.
statistics.
No, he did.
You just said you. You just said you.
I will give you my laptop. I'll turn my laptop your way, and you can pull up some shit that shows contrary evidence.
What is the issue that you would care about the least that you've changed your mind on? I said probably wouldn't even talk about pot.
That's a long version of what you said.
And
what
then
you said
well, why?
was there have been more fatalities since marijuana has been legal in those states.
In all the things we've discussed.
It's not true.
Why are you so obsessed with the pot issue?
Because you're not right, and it doesn't matter if we've talked about it for 4 hours. In this instance, you are incorrect. You know you're incorrect.
No, I'm not incorrect in that instance. That traffic fatalities have increased in areas where pot have increased. We did the same study in Michigan where pot was legalized and people were actually selling more marijuana to underage kids. I don't care if they do it.
That doesn't have anything to do with traffic fatalities.
It does have to do with it.
It doesn't have anything to do with traffic fatalities unless you can prove there's more traffic fatalities in underage kids since marijuana has been legal.
Yeah. There have been several articles that have made that claim, made that assertion.
Let's find them.
We've written about it.
Let's find them.
They all come from one article mostly, and it's from these AAA stats. And this is the stats that they said. And it's almost all the articles you're talking about come from this one article.
Okay, so it says the percentage of drivers involved in fatal crashes who recently used marijuana more than doubled from 8 to 17% from 2013 to 2014. Yeah. 1 in 6 drivers involved in fatal crashes from 2014 had recently used marijuana, which is the most recent data available. Now, do you understand that causation does not equal
involving marijuana
correlation?
Is alarming.
Yeah, says who?
That's an opinion.
It's an opinion.
President and CEO of AAA Foundation.
Yeah,
for
he says it's
safety.
alarming. Well, is that a matter of more people smoking marijuana because it's legal, or is it a matter of the marijuana causing these accidents?
Is this not an article put out by AAA?
Do you know what else is true? Do you know what else is true? That all these people also had alcohol in their system. Do you know that?
Well, no, I don't. We don't know that all of them had alcohol in their system.
It's a giant percentage of people that were involved in these accidents.
Do you know this to be true?
No, I know this because I've read these studies.
All of them had alcohol in their system.
I didn't say that.
You just
said a lot of them.
Rewind the tape.
Maybe I did say all. A lot of them.
Well, you made a lot of assumptions.
Let's find out.
It doesn't say anything in the article about alcohol, though, and for sure they should have tested that and put that information in there. They should,
and for sure they can't test.
Well,
by the way,
just
I'm
Google
talking with 2 guys
how many
who just
people
smoked up a joint.
Just Google.
So what does that have to do with anything?
It makes a point that you're going to have an obvious position that would disagree with this one single article. So if I can finish a point, you've talked about interruption. Let me finish the one point that I'm making.
Well, you can't test
for marijuana.
You've already been proven.
You can't test for marijuana roadside, right? Can we agree on that?
No, you absolutely can.
You can?
There's new tests. Yes,
okay, there's new tests.
How recent are these
tests?
Let's find out. Let's find out. Before you do
but
that,
they didn't test, like you said.
How many of the marijuana-related fatalities also involved alcohol? Because it's a massively significant percentage.
Yeah.
So you can't necessarily say that just because they have these new tests for marijuana, especially roadside marijuana.
That's the problem. Is you can't. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll give you that.
What are you giving me?
Let's say you're correct.
But here's the thing.
So let's say you're correct.
Physiologically, it doesn't have an effect on motor skills the way alcohol does, or it doesn't slow down your response time.
Well, I know that we've had several doctors on the show, 2 of whom had differing opinions on that.
They don't have to be right.
They don't have to be right.
Opinions of it. Do they smoke marijuana themselves? Do they know what it's like?
Now we're getting to this whole
have they studied all the
marijuana.
different CBS News caught blatantly distorting cannabis studies says legal pot doubles fatal car crashes.
This comes from Mint Press News. So again, we can go into questioning sources all day long if you have someone else bringing up sources.
You don't think this is a good source? You think
maybe
they're lying?
it is. Maybe it is. Let's say you're right.
Crowder, but
let's say you're right. Well, a lot of Crowder, we sourced that to something else.
I know, and
you guys are so defensive on one issue, and you said, "What's the issue you don't care about?"
I have your sources right here. I've looked them up. There's people online also sourcing them. they are skewed. You're skewing them to make
and
your
so is the
case.
Washington Post study that you skewed.
But you're not the Washington Post. You're supposed to be the answer to the Washington Post.
I'm not the answer to the Washington Post.
Don't
We're
say that
op-ed.
someone's evil, so I'm evil too.
Well, you just said that.
Is that what you're saying?
That's the argument that you just made.
No, I didn't make that argument. You just said, come on,
man.
You
just made that argument. And all of a sudden, when someone mentions pot, you put on the ideologue hat where your worldview is through the lens of weed.
No, dude.
And you get upset with anyone having a different opinion.
Bullshit. It has nothing to do with weed.
Yeah, but you haven't made an argument.
I haven't made an argument. You said that the fatalities increased. We showed you what happened in Colorado.
What have you shown me?
We showed you the statistics that show that marijuana and traffic violations, they correlates to less
may not be causal
accidents.
Right? Your argument is it may not be caused.
Okay, so what else is causing the dropped number? And why can't
what's
you
causing
show
the increase in number?
What increase? This fake increase
from
that
fake,
you're bringing up?
Fake news?
It's not real. It's not real. Colorado shows it's not real. So where is it real?
Well, this comes from a AAA study that was AAA and Trusted Safety Council.
AAA is owned by the Bilderberg Group, bro.
Oh, God.
You don't even know this.
So now we're going to go to Weed Cures Cancer and people having meetings with ram's heads.
You've got one article that says one thing and one article from Colorado that says there's been a decrease in traffic fatalities.
Right.
You're not willing to recognize that.
I just said, let's give that to you. Because this entire conversation started with you saying, what issue would you change your mind on?
No,
and I said,
it started,
probably pot. Because here's what I think.
This argument started with you saying that it causes more fatalities in traffic violations.
No, that's not true. That's not true. You said, which issue do you not care about?
I
said
that?
pot.
Didn't
and then
you
you
say
said
it causes
why?
more traffic fatalities?
What's your opinion on pot? And I said, I really don't care if people want to smoke pot. I think it's a state issue. I honestly don't care. I've changed my mind where as a kid I thought it was harmful. I don't think it's harmful anymore.
But didn't you say that it causes more traffic fatalities?
Then you said, well, let's expand on this. What issue do you have with pot? I said, I don't like the dishonesty where people just say it cures cancer, it'll end the war on drugs, it's completely harmless, and I have some arguments that it's not entirely. No, it's not entirely harmless.
Well,
it's not without consequences.
Well, consequences based on what?
And I've given you so much leeway there on that one.
How have you? How have you? Consequences
it literally
based on
started
what?
from me saying I probably couldn't care less about this out of all the other issues that we discuss. And you lasered in on that and go, where do we disagree on this?
Because you're looking for an
argument.
No, because it's a huge blind spot.
No, it's not a huge blind spot.
It's definitely
Do you think I'm working for the Bilderbergs out there trying to ban pot?
That. If you say that marijuana is in some way or another a dangerous thing,
yes.
I can tell you that it's not.
No, I didn't say a dangerous thing.
Well,
it's not without consequences.
What are the consequences?
Okay, what do you believe marijuana does, for example? Well, no, I'm not going to get baited into this because you're going to get me. You're trying to force me to say that I don't think pot cures cancer and there's a big farm. No, listen, smoke pot.
No, that's not.
I will ask this.
I'm trying to say, what are the consequences of it?
You come on my show. I would love to and have a discussion about it in real time. I think so. Well, last time I was on the show, you said you do the show
right now. You're in front of me right now. Why do I have to come on your?
Because we're not having a conversation, you and I, right now.
We would definitely have a conversation for hours. Oh, that's not good to read sources?
It's not fair. It's not fair to have two people.
What's fair?
Just like before you said, you think if Amy,
should we be in a room with no internet?
You think if Amy and I ganged up on you, think you would have done well in that argument? Come on, man.
Because I want to find out how you feel, how you think. I want to see if you get defensive.
But for some reason, you said you think if her and I were together, you think you would have done well on that.
Yeah, because I want to see if you get defensive.
Yeah. But
do you ever fuck with somebody in a conversation?
Why wouldn't you
ever fuck with somebody? You do that, right?
No, but you've made it all about the pot issue.
No, that had nothing to do with pot. The Amy Schumer thing had nothing to do with pot.
You've gotten into this pot issue because of an issue where you think there's an argument,
you just brought up.
And it's the one area that you're super informed and interested in.
You're adorable.
And that's the same thing as saying you're not a real comedian.
No, you're adorable.
You've never debated someone on an open territory without someone else to back up your argument. It's never happened.
This is not a backup when someone pulls up information. Let me tell you something. One thing that Jamie does is he pulls up evidence to the contrary. If I was wrong, he would stick it right in my face and we would laugh about it. And that's what he does.
Yeah, but I don't have someone to pull up evidence to the contrary. And I've given it to you.
What evidence? You haven't given me shit.
I've given you the argument.
What argument?
You're continuing. I'm saying, fine, let's say there's no causation. Let's say that wasn't backed up well enough. Let's give you that argument.
Okay. What's this, Jamie?
And
there's also some evidence that medical marijuana laws may contribute to decreasing traffic fatalities.
This is what part of the show is me doing this, though. If we don't do that,
this is what we always do. It's just talking about facts. Listen to this. Hold, please. There are also some evidence that medical. That doesn't make any sense. There are also some evidence. That's not that. There's also. Okay, I'm wrong. That medical marijuana laws may contribute to decreasing traffic fatalities. One study published in the Journal of Law and Economics in 2013 reviewed traffic fatalities in the 19 states that had passed medical marijuana laws by 2010 and found that legalization is associated with an 8 to 11% decrease in traffic fatalities for the year after the laws took effect. The researchers from the University of Colorado, Denver, and elsewhere also found the decrease is more significant for alcohol-related fatalities at 13.2%.
Can I ask a question?
Pretty interesting.
Can I ask a question?
Please do.
Why is that study from 2010 considered completely valid to you, and the study from AAA in 2014 considered completely invalid?
AAA's got a fucking biased interest.
There you go.
Because
there you go. Chemtrails and
big
bias.
ass company.
People can have different opinions.
In charge. Well, what are they basing it on?
What, so your argument is this is the only valid study because AAA is biased.
But this is a study.
It's
Why
a study.
Are you ignoring? Do you think that's right, or do you think they're lying?
I think it could be right. I think it could be right.
So if they're right, if that study's right, then you were wrong, right?
If that study's right,
then you were wrong, right?
I could be wrong.
You were wrong, right? When you were just spouting it out. So we proved that in Colorado you were wrong.
You didn't
prove.
And
if that study is true, well,
you didn't prove. You said if that's here's what you do. If
let's
that study,
pull that up again. Figure out what caused the Colorado
and then you say
study.
interruption. I asked one question, and then you get a paragraph.
You like doing this, don't you,
Joe? I literally said I'll give it to you. You win the argument, and you bring up another thing about pot.
Well, it's because you don't really give up. You reluctantly give up.
I said I'll give it to you. You're right. Let's assume I'm wrong.
You're definitely wrong.
Let's assume I'm wrong.
Okay, so what else would be the problem with marijuana if it wasn't traffic fatalities?
I don't
zero,
even care.
right?
No, not zero.
What, zero?
But I don't want to spend the entire day talking about pot.
Well, come on, man. We're talking about real issues. What would be the other problems if it wasn't for traffic fatalities?
Before you go, oh, man, just loosen up. Let's talk about life and jiu-jitsu. Then you get in one thing.
I didn't say jiu-jitsu. I said let's talk.
You're obsessed.
I just want to get you away from your left versus right talking points because I'm neither.
Because people with convictions, the left-right paradigm.
Bertrand Russell
the left-right paradigm.
I'm
a centrist.
I kind of am.
Joe, here's the thing. And I started off and I still mean the complimentary things I said. But you can't bring people on and call them pussy and dumb fuck
on, bro. We're joking
and bias,
around. I can't.
And then continue going back to an issue and with someone who agrees with you entirely and act as though, well, now you're defensive? Well, of course I'm defensive.
Well, I think that you were spewing a little bit of anti-marijuana propaganda about traffic fatalities, and I had to address
anti-marijuana propaganda. That's right. I'm paid by Big Pharma.
No, I'm not thinking you're paid by anybody, but I just think you had a point of view.
So why would I push the propaganda? Propaganda, by definition, means I have to be pushing it for someone.
It's not necessarily that someone is telling you to do it. It's just that you had a point of view that you had dug your heels in.
Then it's not propaganda.
It is propaganda.
A wrong opinion.
It's propaganda if you have read it and you are spouting it out, but that statistics prove differently.
Well, okay. Then I would say it's propaganda for someone saying weed cures cancer.
I'm not saying you're promoting propaganda like someone's asking. Okay, pull that up then, Jamie.
Weed cures cancer.
Find out whether. Not saying cures. Doesn't marijuana have beneficial effects?
No. That wasn't my claim.
Nothing cures cancer. Nothing cures cancer.
And that was what I was talking about.
I literally will get. Nothing cures anything. I mean, things treat things.
Half of your listeners will tweet me saying,
is there a single drug that cures anything? Things treat things. Your immune system kicks in. If your immune system fails.
Plenty of drugs that cure.
Okay, what drug cures things?
Polio vaccine. Done.
Okay, polio vaccine doesn't cure things, you fuck. It prevents you from getting polio.
The disease is effectively
cured. Do you understand what you just said?
Yeah.
You just disproved yourself.
Cured. No, I didn't just disprove
myself. No, the disease is not effectively cured in the person who has polio. We're talking about marijuana curing cancer on people that don't have cancer yet. That's not what it's not a vaccine for cancer. Okay. What you're saying is marijuana cures cancer with people that have cancer. There's not a fucking drug. You proved yourself. There's not a medicine that proves that you can't fucking cure polio with a medicine.
You get so aggressive on the pot issue.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong right here about polio.
No,
do you understand how blindsided you are?
Right now.
You have a blind spot.
I'm pretty sure there's drugs out there that cure some diseases.
I'm sure there are. I never heard of them.
Well, they exist.
Do you know who they are? Name one.
Not offhand if I had someone who could bring it up.
No, you don't have to bring it up, man. You're going to argue for it. Shouldn't you
I didn't argue for it.
I don't think
you said you don't think there are any drugs that cure anyone, and I said I think that's incorrect.
Your immune system has to be in place. If you're like dying and someone gives you some sort of a drug, how many drugs are there that cure a nasty disease that's killing you, and how many of them have to be also compensated? Your immune system has to kick in as well. There's a bunch of factors. It's not like how many. I mean, there's penicillin that kills some like venereal diseases and all sorts of different fucking horrible infections.
Yeah,
but there's not a lot that. But it takes your immune system has to be in effect too. There's a lot of factors.
So now we're getting to the definition of cure. And
well, man, because you're talking about fucking polio. Nothing cures polio, bitch. And marijuana, no one's saying marijuana cures cancer.
I get those all the time. All the time.
These are assholes. Those are the same people that say you're a Nazi. Those are the same people that say you're a Nazi.
No, it's pretty common. It's pretty common.
Fucking Nazi, punch Nazis.
Well, for example, we had a woman on the show. We had a woman on the show, a psychiatrist, who basically said, she said, people who are adult, healthy, smoke pot, she said, probably not a problem. She said it is a problem for the developing brain, people who are under the age of 25. And she explained as to why.
Probably correct.
Yeah, and she explained as to why.
I don't think they think that the human brain is even fully developed. Your frontal cortex.
Not. And she talked about specifically also people who might have mental illnesses, whether it's schizophrenia or bipolar. Most people don't realize that, or depression. It goes unrecognized. And she talked about how for those people, marijuana can act as a trigger mechanism. So she said, healthy people, none of these conditions, marijuana is probably relatively benign. But for some of these people, and most people who might have these conditions are afflicted by them, it could be a real problem.
She's got some very good points, but do you know that they've
actually... are, weed cures cancer, this dumb bitch should get off the show.
Oh, look at this. Cannabis has been shown to kill cancer cells in laboratory tests. See question 6.
Yeah, that doesn't cure cancer, though.
Well, kill cancer cells. No one's saying cure cancer.
Yes,
beneficial
plenty of people
effects
are.
on
I'm
cancer.
telling you exactly what people say.
But you compared it to turmeric, you compared it to all these things. But look, the point being, I think you agree and I agree that as long as it doesn't hurt other people any more than anything else, like sugar hurts other people. Look, if you want to make an argument for high insurance rates and you want to look at the overall causes of disease in this country and why insurance and health insurance cost so much, you would almost immediately go towards simple sugar. Like simple sugar is a huge problem with people who are obese. Obesity is a huge issue in this country, and it's a major factor when it comes to healthcare costs, right?
I think it's adorable that you're telling me how to craft arguments. And I know that you do this, Joe.
I'm not saying that.
But I think it's adorable.
It's an easier argument to say that ice cream should be illegal than it is that marijuana should be illegal.
No, I don't. And
why
I think,
that? Tell me why.
No, I'm gonna say what I was about to say.
Okay, please do.
Beforehand, because you keep redirecting the conversation, and and for some reason you're turning it into something hostile that it really doesn't need to be.
It's not hostile.
It is. It
might be to you.
Yeah, it is.
You feel weird about it. I feel great.
It is. It is when someone comes into something where they know they disagree, and two other people with the same opinion are going to do a team up.
He doesn't even have an opinion.
I think that look at this. What you're doing right now, Joe, is like you talk about with people in jiu-jitsu. This is what I think.
There are now 100 scientific studies that say that.
I think that you think these arguments work.
Cannabis cures cancer.
I think that you think these arguments work, and I think it's like someone going to jiu-jitsu for the first time. You've never done it. I don't think you've ever actually gotten to a place without someone who can bring up sources for you. I don't think you've gotten into an argument or done anything with a debate team where people would actually hold you accountable to the arguments that you make. I think you redirect.
Why are you saying you don't think that I have if you don't know what conversations I've had?
I've never seen it.
So what, you've been with me 24/7 for 49 years?
But my point is this. I think you would be very surprised.
Conversations.
Right now, you're the Kung Fu guy hitting the Kung Fu doll with the spikes.
It's
and you've convinced yourself that this is an argument that would work if you had other people, more qualified than myself, to discuss it. And you decided to zone in on an argument that you knew you would disagree with.
This is a cute way of you diffusing all these stats that Jamie keeps bringing up. There's more than 100 studies that proves that cannabis cures cancer.
Exactly.
Do you deny those studies?
Jamie?
You don't need a Jamie.
Where's my Jamie?
Jamie's pulling shit off the internet. He's not writing it, man.
You asked me specifically about something where I changed my mind. Okay. So you clearly were ready or upset about the pot thing.
I wasn't ready.
I said,
I didn't even think we were going to
talk about that anymore. Because I don't really care about it, and I think states should be able to legalize it.
Well, if you don't care about it, you seem fucking really
Because you asked me 3 follow-up questions. It'd be like me asking you why you endorsed Bernie Sanders on this show, tacitly saying you would vote for him. When in the green room with the billiard stuff, you said, man, he's insane with the socialist stuff. I don't think it's very genuine what you're doing. I think this is something that appeals to your audience.
Silly. No, it's not. You started on with traffic fatalities, and I thought you were wrong.
I didn't start on with traffic fatalities. You said, what issue would you drop and not talk about? And this is exactly why.
Right,
because these are the conversations that always occur.
That was one of the things that you said.
These are the conversations that always occur,
wasn't it?
And there's no productive conversation that comes from it.
Oh, sure there is.
No.
For people who are listening to this is extremely productive because they understand how someone with blinders can ignore the evidence.
Sure.
And figure out some way where they're being wronged intellectually.
Like someone like blinders.
Someone will say that, oh, you should be in some sort of a debate. You've never been in a debate. You don't know what fucking debates I've been in. You know what conversations I've been in with people.
Televised, right, Joe?
You don't know. You don't know what conversations I've had.
Man. I'm calling you on your bullshit. Then do it when people can see.
That I've had? You're saying I've never had a conversation with someone
other people who agree with you. And you bully people.
Steven Crowder, I'm not bullying people. We're having fun. Why is this bullying?
It's bullying because there are 2 people who hold one opinion, ask me on something that I don't care about, follow up 3, 4 questions to go into an area where you 2 are very specifically passionate, and I said, I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it because you're wrong.
No, I don't want to talk because I don't care.
Because he keeps showing
if states
you
want to
wrong.
legalize it, that's fine. But it is a valid issue when people of Colorado are looking at this now, and there are people in Colorado who might vote differently on the marijuana issue because of how it's perceived or because of the information at hand. And I believe that people in Colorado should be able to vote. They voted for pot. But if they want to vote the other way, in states, they have the right to do that.
Who's arguing against that?
Well, that was my point when we were talking about marijuana. My point was, when I worked at Fox, we were thrust onto panels where you had to talk about this because it was going on in Colorado.
I can't believe you called me a bully. That's such a left-wing tactic.
You are.
How dare you?
You are. You are.
How dare you? How dare is it? How's it a bully?
You are.
What,
you do
facts?
That.
Facts
No,
bully
that's
you?
not facts. You use
How is it a
all of
bullying?
this, use these absolutes and call someone on it and then say, well, no, hold on, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
What absolutes did I
use? You said,
use?
oh, okay, let me give you one that I can pull from my memory bank.
Please do.
All of them were on alcohol.
That did fuck that up.
Yeah, and you've done it several times.
But we did. We're supposed
But if
to
we
pull
want
up
to have a productive
statistics.
discussion,
Pull up statistics.
I wouldn't be doing that.
But I know there's a large number. There's a large number. This is Narcanon or one of those companies. One of those. There was one.
Oh,
it was
shit,
unlikely
it's 5
source.
o'clock?
Yeah. Well, you don't tell me you have to leave now.
My
before
flight's
we
at
turn
6.
this around. Well, you're gonna miss your flight no matter what. Now, you're fucked. We're gonna be fine, dude.
No, I'm not going to be fine. I'm not going to make my flight back.
Yeah, you're gonna be fine. You live in America. You could be in Ethiopia right now, huddling in a fucking hut, trying to protect yourself from some rabid animal.
Yeah.
Don't be scared. We're gonna be fine. You got a little defensive. I thought we were friends.
No, you didn't.
I thought you did. That's
I
why I
we were
wanted
friends
to
too,
have
but
you
listen,
on
man,
here.
Listen.
I thought we were gonna have some fun.
We were having fun, and then toward the end of the conversation, you asked me what issue do you not care about. I don't really care about the pot issue, which I thought I cared about when I was 21. You said you wouldn't defend issues when you were 7 years ago, right? All of your cells have. When I was 21, I was probably a lot harsher on pot than I am today. I thought it was worse. I grew up around it. I had negative experiences. Then I realized that was anecdotal. I don't really care much anymore about it. I think states should be able to do what they want to do. Then 3, 4, 5 follow-up questions so we could get to a point into this debate where the show has now gone on 2-3 hours long and I've missed my flight.
Well, what you were trying to say was that people that are pro-marijuana ignore the negative consequences of marijuana, and I asked you what those were.
Right.
And you said traffic fatalities.
One of them.
And then we tried to find out if that's true, and we found out it's not.
You didn't find out that it's not true. You made an argument that it's not true, but we didn't definitively find out that it's not true.
A lot of statistics.
Well, it's very easy to do that when you ignore opposing statistics.
No, let's find the opposing
and make false
statistics.
claims about them.
Let's have
Joe,
Jamie find
Joe,
opposing
I don't have another
statistics.
hour. I've missed my flight. I don't have another hour to get into the pot issue.
You definitely have plenty of time, man. You're not going to get your flight. You got a lot of time. This is an interesting argument.
Right.
It's an interesting argument because it shows what happens when people not necessarily disagree, but getting into a position where one person wants to have the upper hand. And you keep jockeying back and forth. We're trying to figure out who's going to wind up on the top of the heap.
No, there's no jockeying back and forth.
Not at all.
You're the one jockeying back and forth.
Oh, sweetie. You know that's
Don't
not
call
true.
me sweetie.
Come on, honey.
That's a bully thing.
Honey.
Come on, that's a bully thing.
If that's a bully thing,
that's a
then
bully
we have a
thing.
real
That's
problem
a bully
in this
thing.
country.
Pussy,
Come
dumb
on.
fuck,
that
honey.
Might be dumb fuck might be bullying.
Yeah.
Sweetie
which
is not bullying.
Which you've done.
Come on, I did it as a joke because I thought we were friends.
No, you don't think we talk every now and then. I do.
I like
listen,
you.
I like you too, but I knew.
You don't think we're friends? You brought me a pipe. You gave me a pipe.
I did give you a pipe.
You've been on my podcast twice.
I know.
How dare
I'm
you?
I'm guessing probably not invited back.
You're a goddamn bully. I'll invite you back. Are
Listen,
you serious?
Here's the truth.
Are you upset more than me? Who's more upset
listen,
here?
when you say you're defensive, and you have somebody else to bring up sources, let's be
I'll
let's
look
be
up
real
anything
here.
you want me to.
No, I don't want you to look up anything you want me to.
Jamie will be. Let me tell you something. If Jamie found something that shows me I'm wrong, and he does all the time, he pulls it up.
Well, not gay Jared knows that he has a standing on our show. We do it differently, and that's why I invited you on the show.
How do you do it differently?
We
What
did it
does it
differently.
have-
Okay, if
how's it
Christopher Titus
relevant?
comes on the show, if Sally Cohn comes on the show, if you come on the show, and you say, I want to talk about pot in the show. If you say that and you say, I disagree with you. I say, okay, not gay Jared, not a word, and you don't bring up any sources. This is going to be
Well, there's a difference
conversation
between
of
you and
ideas.
me. I'd let him talk. I'd be like, you think I would ask
No, Jared
him.
talks all the time, but I don't think it's fair.
Why not? I would talk to him too. He's a human being.
I don't think 2-on-1 in an argument is fair.
It's not 2-on-1.
Yeah, it is.
You know it's not. And if he disagrees with me and you disagree with me together, we can go back and forth all together. I don't care. I don't mind if there's 3 people. Get another friend that hates pot. Bring him in.
I don't hate pot.
Well, I mean, just
Again,
I'm
there
saying,
you go,
like,
right
find
there,
someone
right
who
there.
does.
What absolutes?
No,
There's
another
a total
friend,
mischaracter-
not
no,
you.
hold on a second. Before
Another
you said what
friend who
absolutes?
hates pot.
I said mischaracterizations and absolutes. There, I don't hate pot.
I'm not saying you do. I'm saying get a friend who hates pot. Bring him
Get
in as well.
another friend who hates pot.
Get
Joe.
another friend.
What
other
does
than
another
Jay
mean?
Garrett. Get another friend who
have
also
him
hates
look up
pot.
another. Have Jamie look up another.
I should have used the word also.
No, because the implication there is another, meaning you hate pot.
No, I don't
If I
think
said,
you hate
Joe,
pot.
get another person who endorsed Bernie Sanders and then had egg on his face,
I think
it would imply that you did.
Arguments. I think you hate losing
gave
arguments.
you the argument, and you continued for another hour, Joe.
You didn't really. You gave it to me with a caveat, and that caveat is that I'm a bully, and that Jamie pulls up statistics that only benefit my ideas.
On that argument. You are.
How is it a bully when two people are talking? How is it bullying?
It's not two people talking, though. You don't have a conversation with two people talking. You have a fail-safe. You have other people who agree with you. You have an audience who agrees with you. I'm on your program.
I'm talking to my audience, man. Just two people talking.
Let me be clear.
Okay.
I don't hate pot.
Okay.
I couldn't care less if you want to smoke pot, if states want to legalize pot.
Okay.
I couldn't care less about that. Now,
okay.
Pot is not a substance without consequence. That's all. And some of those consequences can be damage to the developing brain. When they're 25, we had a psychiatrist on talk about it, and people called her a dumb bitch who, weed cures cancer. There have been statistics and reports on fatalities increasing regarding marijuana. You may not accept them, and maybe you're right on those sources. Maybe your sources are more valid than my sources. I'll grant you that. So my issue is when people are dishonest and only present one side of the issue. I just presented several sides, and on my show on a regular basis, said, listen, if you want to smoke pot, I couldn't care less. Go ahead and smoke pot. And I think that the people who have tried to make you think, reefer madness and wacky tobacco, I think that's overblown. But I also think there are some issues that people who simply want to justify it, sometimes a habit, which could be negative to some people, not all, overlook completely one side of the issue. And there is an entire side of the medical community who disagrees with you. And I don't know that I agree with them or disagree with them yet.
Wait a minute, the medical community?
There is an entire side to the medical community who would disagree with your position. And I don't know that you think marijuana is a benign substance.
I don't think it's benign to developing brains. We already discussed that.
Okay, good example. Developing brains.
Well, I don't think alcohol is as well.
I would agree. I think a lot of kids who listen to the show, and I know you're not responsible, it's like you should be 18 in Canada, you should be 16 years old to drive a car. You're not telling kids to go and smoke up. But I think a lot of people who are listening, you have many young listeners who are in that developmental stage, certainly under the age of 25, who only hear the positive virtues extolled of marijuana. Sometimes they're not entirely honest. Sometimes they're not entirely accurate, I should say. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
Necessarily accurate, how so?
Well,
what example, positive things
let me ask you this. Have you ever on your program
accurate?
talked about how harmful marijuana could be to the developing brain under 25?
Yeah, we have many times.
Have you? In a way that you've conceded that's valid?
No, we've said I don't think you should do anything. I don't think like any 15-year-old should do anything to their brain, because we don't know what the fuck happens to your brain when you give a kid alcohol. I did it. I'm sure you probably did it too. When did you drink first? How old were you?
Probably like 15. Well, first beer, probably.
I think I was 14 the first time I got drunk with my friends. I mean, it's terrible. It's not good for you. It's not smart. It's definitely not smart. And I know, and you know, and I'm sure we all know someone who did get completely overindulgent in marijuana and became one of those wake and bake people that ruined their life.
Sure.
And I think people can do that with almost any substance, anything that's psychoactive at least. I think people do that with cigarettes, where they need that fucking cigarette more than they need anything. I think a lot of AA people do that with cigarettes and alcohol. They replace their weird addiction to alcohol to something that's not as bad for them. I think there's a lot of things for the developing mind, particularly for the developing mind, that we have available to us all the time that are really dangerous.
Watch. Joe Rogan and Steven Crowder get into heated debate over marijuana legalization. NSFW. Commentator turned comedian Joe Rogan got into a heated debate about marijuana legalization with Steven Crowder on Wednesday. Crowder, a conservative and political commentator with his own news website and podcast Louder with Crowder, strongly disagreed with Rogan about legalizing marijuana. Crowder began to get upset when Rogan and his co-host began pulling up information suggesting Crowder may be wrong. Crowder then became defensive, saying the two were ganging up on him, and it was unfair that Rogan had someone to help him pull up information to help him with his arguments. Rogan argued that scientific studies proved that there have been benefits for marijuana legalization, and Crowder countered that marijuana has caused more automobile accidents. Rogan's co-host then brought up an article by The Washington Post titled "Since Marijuana Legalization Highway Fatalities Are at Historic Lows," which disproved Crowder's claim. Crowder then argued that Rogan and his co-host were bringing up information in favor of their argument and told him to bring up the study that they wrote about. That's when the heated exchange started. "I don't care about your website, you have *Creek." Rogan repeated the headline "Since marijuana legalization highway fatalities are at historic lows." Crowder responded, "Okay, since you called me *Creek and a pussy, and since you do this with the crazy lady at the comedy club, you think that if you scream enough, my point is I don't care about it." Things got worse when Joe Rogan called Crowder's position an ideologue when Crowder said to leave it to the states to decide legalization. "Yeah, you are locked in, man, and you've already been proved full of shit about Colorado and traffic deaths. Should we go and *Creek you up with this too?" Rogan's co-host then brought up the article on Crowder's site, which they proceeded to shred to pieces. Each claim was made and they pulled up all the bias studies that were used, including a AAA study that has been largely skewed, which CBS themselves have been caught lying about. Crowder then asked Rogan why he believed the counter study unpacking pot's impact in Colorado by factcheck.org and not the AAA study. Rogan responded, "AAA has a bias interest." The following video contains expletive language. Crowder claimed Rogan was a bully after he called him names like honey, sweetie, and all types of expletives including FK-face and a son of H during their argument. Several YouTube users responded in the comment section seeming to agree that Rogan was out of line. One YouTube user, World B. Gilbert Gottfried, responded, "So much for marijuana helping you relax and be cool." Another user, BV, expressed that he usually loved Joe Rogan, and I agree with him on the issue, but he was way out of line in this video. Entirely biased and unwilling to actually listen. This was not a debate. This was Joe talking over Steven and using his show to project his bias. What do you think? Did Rogan go too far, or was he in the right to address Crowder's claim? Let us know in the comments section below.